Coming up next, a conversation with Senator Mike Brubaker.
Welcome, Senator.
Hey,
Welcome
Jan,
to Waltz Vineyards.
It's great to be here.
Waltz Vineyards is an award-winning winery in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, using only top-quality grapes from Jan and Kim Waltz's fifth-generation farm.
We decided that we wanted to find an alternative crop to grow on this great land, and we chose to plant grapes in 1997, and we started as commercial grape growers, and that has led into the winemaking side. In 2000, we started making wine as a reference for a crop, and in 1998, we started this facility, and here we are.
I'll have to say, since this recession began, my phone has not stopped ringing one bit. We have as much, if not more, interest from people in starting vineyards and wineries than ever before.
Stay tuned as Senator Mike Brubaker takes us on a tour of the renowned Waltz family vineyard in Manheim, Lancaster County.
This is our product line currently right now. We have 7 wines. They're all vinifera wines, and mostly dry, but we do some semi-dry and 1 semi-sweet wine. Vinifera variety of grapes are from Europe originally, long history with that, but as far as quality, our whole focus on our business here is quality driven. So everything that we have here on our product line is actually grown here on our farm. We do not buy any grapes or juice in, so it's 100% estate produced.
Yeah, that's very, very important. I want to get back to that. But what really jumps out at me when I take a look at these bottles of wine are these 2 medals here. Mm-hmm. So would you like to explain that?
Yes, we entered 3 wines in the Pennsylvania Farm Show competition this year. It was our first competition, and we received a gold medal for the Rosé and a bronze medal for the Sauvignon Blanc. We did not get to enter our reds yet. We feel that they need to mature a little bit more before we enter those in competition. But the Farm Show is a great showcase for Pennsylvania wineries. Pennsylvania has always been a wine-producing state, but not very recognized as world-class wines. But through technology, through Penn State, and the Department of Ag here in Pennsylvania, they've put a lot of extra time and resources into helping this industry develop through the Extension Service, which has been a very important part of developing the wine industry within the state that was already here to elevate the quality level, and that starts in the vineyard growing quality grapes. So over half the quality of wine or the quality end product actually is developed in the vineyard. So wine quality first has to start in the vineyard and the way the grapes are grown. And Pennsylvania does have the potential to grow some world-class wines. We have some world-class soils here. We brought many soil scientists in from around the world that have developed world-class wine, worked in world-class wine growing soils, and we've dug lots of soil pits here, and they have deemed many of the soils here in Pennsylvania as world-class soils for growing wine grapes.
It's not many television shows I do where soil scientists are brought into the conversation. Of course, as you know, I am a soil scientist, so I'm always thrilled to hear that soil scientists have a role to play, an important role at that in winemaking. So let's go ahead and take a look at your operation.
Okay.
Wow, Jan. First impression is it's cold, so if you could explain that. And my second impression, of course, is immensely clean and new and shiny. So if you could explain the temperature and the...
Temperature, especially in production area, is very important. In this room, as well as where we store the wine in barrel, wine likes to have a constant temperature. And this is our main production area. We keep this facility around 60 degrees. But also the equipment in here is also temperature controlled, and sometimes we need to either warm the juice coming in depending on the time of year that it's picked. Either if it's picked in the end of October, the fruit is usually cold and it's too cold to start fermenting, so we have to warm the must up. During fermentation, the wine, as it's fermenting, gets very warm and we need to cool it down so that we achieve the right flavor profiles in the wine. And so temperature control is very important in the winery, both the ambient temperature and also in the fermenting vessels. And then as far as cleanliness, the wine is subject to the environment that it's made in. So we need to keep things very clean so that they're free of mold and mildews. And so we need a facility that we can wash down and keep very sanitary.
Well, it sure is that. Are we able to kind of track the winemaking process from beginning to end? So the grapes are grown in the field, and when they leave the field, they come where in this operation?
Yes. The grapes are typically harvested in September and October. We hand-pick everything at our operation currently right now. They're hand-picked into the bins that are back here, about 1,000 pounds in a bin, and they come in from the field freshly picked, processed the same day. We feel that that's very important. And this is our crush pad back here. The grapes are actually dumped into a destemmer crusher that removes the berries from the skin, or the berries from the rachis, and they are then either pumped into our fermentation vessels. In the case of the white grapes, they can be pressed and the juice is removed from the skins and fermented separately. The red grapes are fermented on the skins. That's where your tannin structure and your color come from.
Okay, so I just want to back up if I can. So the grapes are from the field go into these bins that we see
into those
outside.
gray bins out there, yes.
And then they go into this
and then they can, in the case of the Cabernet Sauvignon and Merlot, or any red varieties where we need to have a good extraction, they go into this machine. This is a rotary fermenter. Not super common in, say, California, but more common in some parts of Europe and northern Italy, and some parts of France and Germany, used for extraction.
And how long is the grape inside of this device?
Usually 6 to 8 days on average for red wine fermentations in this machine. And this just manages the cap. It controls the temperature of the fermentation. As the wine is fermenting, the skins from the red grapes float to the top, and then with the CO2 that's given off during fermentation. And in order to get the extraction of the tannins and the red color, we have to immerse those skins back down into the fermenting wine. And so this machine just rotates that cap back down into the fermenting wine.
Okay, 6 to 8 days in this.
6 to 8 days in here.
Okay, and then from there, where does it go?
From here, what we term that we use in winemaking is called racking. We pull off the wine now from the bottom, from the cap, and we pump that into one of these vessels over here, where we settle it for about 5 days. And then after it's finished in this tank, it gets, in most cases, gets put into barrels, into the cooperage. In the case of the white wine takes about 3 weeks fermentation, much cooler, slower fermentation, and that will usually settle in here for a couple days, and then we rack it again into another tank, and that could be in here for a couple months before it's either bottled, or in some cases it does go directly into the barrels also. So we do some in-barrel aging of the white wine, but most of our red wines, Merlot and Cabernet Sauvignon, end up going into the barrel, which is in the next room over here.
Fermentation is biologically driven, is that right? And it's essentially a conversion between sugars to alcohol?
Yes, the yeast are consuming the sugars from the grapes, and they're producing alcohol and giving off the carbon dioxide. They're burning up the oxygen that's maintained in the fruit.
And alcohol content of wine varies what kind of range?
Most of our wines are anywhere from 11.5% to about 14%, depending on the vintage.
Okay.
And again, the barrel room is a very important room in a winery. It also has to be temperature controlled. And the oak cooperage can be sourced from 3 different regions in the world. but again, it has to be properly taken care of.
Okay, so here we have, as soon as I walked into the room, very strong oak smell.
Yes.
So you're calling these oak barrels, and you can certainly smell the oak. How many gallons of wine are in one barrel?
Around 62.
62 gallons. And the wine stays in these barrels for how long?
On average, for a white wine, usually around 8 months to possibly a year. For the red wine, a year to 18 months, depending on the age of the cooperage and the vintage.
Now this term cooperage.
Yes.
Could you explain that to me again?
The cooperage is what we call the barrels. A cooper is the barrel maker, and it's a real art into developing and making barrels. And Pennsylvania also has a barrel manufacturer in Pittsburgh area called Keystone Cooperage, which manufactures many barrels for wine production throughout the world.
And when you taste your product, can you taste the oak from the oak barrel in the product itself?
Yes. We like to complement our wines with the oak. We don't want to over oak our wines so that we hide the true grape flavors in there. So that's where the varying length of time comes into how long it stays in the cooperage. And we want a subtle finish of oak on the wine so it doesn't overpower it. And the oak cooperage helps to lengthen the finish on the wines. And it also does a few other things. It helps to concentrate the flavors. And so we just want a hint of oak on the finish if that's what we desire in the product.
And a final question for right here, right now, for me is, can you reuse the oak barrels or the cooperage? Can you, once you're done with the 62 gallons or so of product that's in here, can you refill?
Yes. On average, our barrels are used 3 to 4 years. They can be used longer than that, but you will not receive any oak extraction from the barrel. It becomes a storage vessel just for aging. But typically after 4 years, we retire the barrels.
And do you taste test the product in the barrel before you bottle it?
Yes.
And if you do that, are you able to give us a demonstration how you do that?
Yes. We top the barrels every 2 weeks, and usually about every 4 weeks we do a taste test, at least in some of the barrels, to see how the wine's evolving. What we do is first we have to remove the bung from the barrel, and again, this is a very...
The bun?
The bung.
Bung, how do you spell that?
B-U-N-G.
B-U-N-G, may I do that? Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm removing the bung from the barrel. Step 1. Okay.
Step 2, we want to observe to make sure we don't see anything in there that we don't want to see, like any cast on top of the wine, which means the wine may be spoiled. Second, we want to stick our nose down there and just take a whiff to make sure it's okay. Should have a very good aroma. Second, we want to make sure that we use a clean thief, because this is called the thief. We're going to thieve the wine from the barrel. And we want to make sure that the thief is clean, that it's been sterile before it's going in. It's kind of like a surgical instrument, because we can infect each barrel if the thief is not clean. And we're going to just stick that down in there very slowly. Wait a couple seconds till it fills.
And what type of wine, what variety of wine is this?
This is Merlot.
Merlot?
100% Merlot grapes. Okay. This is wine that has finished both primary and secondary fermentation. It's completely undergone malolactic fermentation. And now it's just sitting here aging gracefully. And what our job is in the winery is to maintain the health of the wine in the barrel. So the wine does evaporate from the barrel 2 to 4% a year, depending on the humidity in the room. And
now that's interesting. You would not think, you're saying that 62 gallons of wine in one barrel, and you're saying that the wine actually makes its way through that oak barrel and evaporates up into the atmosphere.
It does come into the pores of the oak, and then some of the moisture comes through the barrel. So the wine doesn't actually make its way all the way out, but some of the moisture does evaporate from the oak on the outside. And what we need to do is top the barrel at least once a month. We do every 2 weeks topping so that we can maintain the stave health on the inside of the barrel so that the staves do not shrink and allow air to come in. So that's why we top to keep the wine full right up to the top. So when we pull that out, you can see the color is very good.
Okay, now again, if you could just demonstrate what you would do to determine whether this wine is maturing the way you would desire.
First, we're going to observe the color of the wine. And it's a great extraction of color for 2009. It was a cooler, wetter year, which some vintages, like 2009, require more work in the vineyard by removing leaves in the fruit zone, and that allowed us to get excellent color.
So you like this color?
So this is an excellent color.
Okay, okay.
And there should be no browning around the edge. Should be no harsh smells coming from the glass at this point. And we're going to swirl it.
You're better at that than I am. There we go.
I had a lot of practice.
How's that?
And that's going to help to aerate the wine in the glass, and it's going to release the aromas into the glass. And then we're going to smell it. It should have a nice, clean, fresh aroma. I'm picking up some hints of red cherry, maybe some black currants.
Maybe a little bit of oak from the
A little bit of oak
barrel.
should start to develop into the wine. You can see the legs on the glass. That's the viscosity from the alcohol. Observing this wine in the glass, everything looks good. It smells fresh. I don't have any off aromas that tell me that the wine is going wrong, or something is going wrong. Next, I'm going to taste it.
Now you are swirling it around
Swishing
your
it in
mouth.
my mouth. Not very good table etiquette, but for the purpose of working and tasting the wine, I'm aerating it around in my mouth to help get the wine all over my palate. Because different parts of your mouth detect different things. I'm detecting some of the oak now, and it's giving the wine a longer finish. And I can feel that on the sides of my tongue. Also some of the astringency, some of the acidity. But again, the main purpose of doing this is to see how the wine is aging. Is it healthy? And as far as the wine's concerned, is it aging without any bacterial problems that we may have to correct?
So this wine that you just tasted has 1 year left in the barrel.
In the barrel.
And so its taste to you compared to a finished product is what? How's it different than that finished product?
It will be very similar to this. The oak will just be more concentrated, and the wine will be more concentrated. It will actually deepen in color, and the richness will develop. Pennsylvania is marketing a lot more wine than we have been in the past, because it is the largest growing industry in ag in Pennsylvania.
And that's a statement we shouldn't walk right past. As chairman of the Senate Ag and Rural Affairs Committee, what you just said, I've read somewhere recently that the winemaking industry, if that's the right terminology,
Yes,
is among the fastest growing agricultural components of Pennsylvania agriculture. So we talked in the past about many of our viewers not recognizing that Pennsylvania is a wine growing state. We think of it as California, but indeed we are growing quality grapes, converting that to quality wine right here in Pennsylvania.
That is correct, yes. And for the marketing side, I'm going to turn that discussion over to my wife, Kim, who handles all our marketing and sales for Waltz Vineyard.
We're great.
Hi, Senator.
Hi,
Welcome to
Kim.
my
Hi.
area.
Hi, so, well, Jan set this up, and he talked an awful lot about how important your role is.
Okay.
So here we go.
Well, I think it's pretty important. I'd like to tell you about it.
I'd like to hear about it. Please do.
Okay. What I try to do from a marketing angle is really let people know the possibilities of what can be done right here in Lancaster County. But the soil is known all over the world for what it can give us in the line of great produce. And I have so many people that'll come into the winery and say, no good wines can be grown around here. This is Pennsylvania. This isn't Napa. You know, this isn't Italy. This isn't France. And then once they start to taste the wines, they can see that it is very, very possible.
I'm glad you brought that up, because I was talking with Jan about that at some level of length, that Pennsylvania is not known for its wines. And what I'm learning on this tour is that fact is not a fact. It's a fallacy, right? So you're saying good wine starts with good grapes starts with good soils, and we have it right here in Pennsylvania.
We absolutely have it. In fact, after we were into this industry about 5 or 6 years, soil scientists were brought here from all over the world, and they told us that this is world-class vineyard soils. Now, who knew? Because Lancaster County isn't known for all this grape production. But now that we know that, we are finding out that they're absolutely correct. Our grapes are coming out fantastic. That is leading to great wine production. And we believe we're making world-class wines here.
Well, I'm sure that you are. So we're in what I would call a lobby. What's the right terminology
This is
for
my tasting room.
And a tasting room, okay.
Yes.
So you have guests come in, that you give tours like what we just went through?
We give a tour because what we think is very important for everybody that walks through that door is to be educated on the process of what goes into that bottle. I don't think anybody really realizes that it's a year-round effort to get these grapes up, grown, harvested, and then processed into something that's actually lovely to drink. So we take them through the tour of the facility, and then we bring them in here, and we offer a full line tasting of all the wines that we make.
Wonderful. It's a beautiful setting. So can we take a look at how you demonstrate to your visitors what kind of product line you have?
Absolutely. I first take them over to the table over here and I explain all of the wines that we have. And I walk them through sort of what I call the lightest to the heaviest of wines. Light meaning no oak. This wine, for instance, has not had oak or not a lot of significant oak, which would make the wine taste heavier. It wasn't aged a long time. These wines were more of a quick release wine after harvest. They are ready quite rapidly, which is nice because then we have something fresh and fruity to offer right near the beginning of the holidays, which is when harvest is over. Then as we move down to this end, you're either going to get sweeter or heavier in tannins and oak presence. And that's what the reds have. The reds have the tannin and the oak presence. This wine is a semi-dry, so it has a little more sweetness. So I would never serve this first because it would mess up your palate. And then you would not be able to taste the other ones accurately. We also serve unsalted crackers because serving small tastes of wine, if you have too much salt that you're eating with the small taste of wine, that again can mess up your palate for the taste and the feel in your mouth.
And we don't want to do that,
We don't want to do that.
I would imagine many of your customers come in with predetermined likes on the type of wine. Is that accurate?
Absolutely.
And then you would guide them toward that, and then maybe you'd encourage them to try something different to try to expand there.
I would. If they wanted something more on the dry, heavy red end, obviously we would lean up here. And if they wanted light, crisper in the white areas, we would be down here. And if they wanted something sweet, I have this one to offer them. And I'm glad that you asked me because traditionally it seems that Pennsylvania was known for sweet white production, sweet wine production. And so I'll have a lot of skeptics come in here and say, you can't make dry wines here. Pennsylvania is all about sweet wine. And then they start to taste our wines. And one by one, they say, you've changed my mind. Pennsylvania can make dry wines and European style wines. And so that's why the wines that'll change your mind became our slogan.
Over the last decade, Waltz Vineyards has been the host of many viticulture seminars, sponsored by Penn State University's Cooperative Extension.
It's very, very important for us to have advocates in both state and federal government to support the work that we're doing out here and to help to grow really what is an emerging, developing industry like the wine industry, as well as the traditional commodity crops like dairy and livestock. You know, they're also very vital to the county's economic infrastructure. So we really appreciate the work that Senator Brubaker and others of his colleagues do on behalf of agriculture. It's just so important these days to have support, political support. You just can't do anything without it.
Every day is different, depending on the weather. That'll change things in a hurry, but just this morning we were in a different vineyard and we were moving some of these catch wires to get the vines in proper position. And I can be doing that, or you know, a lot of days I'll work from 8 until 6 and go home and eat dinner and then come back and drive the tractor for 4 or 5 hours and mow or weed or spray or whatever needs to be done. But every day is very, very different. Well, this is my 4th year here, and I grew up on a dairy farm, so you know, I know what farming's about. But when I was at Cornell in my undergraduate, I started working for a vineyard up there and worked for a vineyard in France and kind of got the bug. And so then I moved down here and liked what Jan was doing and started working for him. And you know, then we started the winery and things are really taking off now. We sell grapes to about 12 different wineries in the state, as well as we keep about 25% of our crop to use here at our vineyard. So yeah, it's very exciting, and can't wait to see what the future holds.
Very good product, but I've got to get to the point about this being an age-appropriate product. So can you talk about that? Obviously, we have laws in Pennsylvania,
Yes.
and there are people that are quite concerned about usage of alcohol.
Absolutely.
Can you talk to that, please?
Yes, we've built this project right here at our home, and we're raising our family around it. So we're operating a tasting room for adults. And what happens is people will come in and they'll taste our wines, and they understand that this is a respectable establishment. And if someone looks to me, and I'm not really good at the age game, so I pretty much card people well into their 30s because I want to make sure that I'm not doing anything that violates my license or puts my family and anyone else's in jeopardy. So if you come in and I card you, be complimented, don't be insulted, but I'm gonna err on the safe side. So many times people will come in and they'll say, I never heard about you, and you know, this can't be in Lancaster County. And I'll say to them, how many times have you looked for things to do in your own backyard? Because you might be surprised what you're gonna find here.
Well, there you have it. I couldn't have a better end to this program than that statement right there. We do have a remarkable array of places to visit right here in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania. So here we are in Mannheim, just north of Mannheim, at a very, very special place. So I would encourage you to come visit. Everyone can benefit by learning how you make wine. And what we heard earlier is that the wine growing is among the fastest components of the Pennsylvania agricultural industry right here in Pennsylvania, in the United States. We're very proud to have you as a local business. You're a family business. I'm immensely impressed with that husband and wife team. I just absolutely love being in the midst of families that are really working and living together in a very prosperous way. So thank you very much for making Pennsylvania a better place.
Thank you, Senator.
You got it.
Very nice seeing you.
Thank you.